Hello, my name is Jedediah Amarego, and today we'll be discussing the 7-step method for achieving your goals as a developer. So, a little bit about me. First off, I'm a full stack web developer. I'm also an electronic engineering student at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. I am a learning community ambassador with Andela, and recently I am interim co-founder for co-founding a startup with the Hansen 5 team. And finally, I'm an aspiring Google software engineer. Okay, so why are we discussing what we're discussing here today? So it's a theme for software developers and engineers to start projects and not finish them altogether or not finish them on time. And there's could be so many reasons for this, but chief among them is lack of project management in the project. So today we will be learning how to use Microsoft GitHub Issues and GitHub Projects as a tool for project management. Okay, so it's very important to note that there are a couple of project management tools out there, a good number of them. Notable mentions include Jira, Trello, Quora, Rai, Asana, Zoho Project, and amongst a couple others. These ones are notable mentions, but trust me, there are a lot more out there. Now, I'm sure most of everyone is asking, why are we using GitHub and GitHub Issues and GitHub Projects? Okay, well, the answer is this: the GitHub Student Developer Pack. Okay, so what is this GitHub Student Developer Pack? So GitHub sat down and decided to collaborate with like 100 plus companies and come up with this amazing setup where they offer like $60K worth of services to students for free. Okay, so what happens is most of these services that you go to website and companies to pay for, either by subscription or one-time payments, you get all of this for either a month or a year or a couple of months free or at reduced prices on GitHub Student. So all you need to do is have a student email address, and you go to the link education.github.com/pack, and you get verified with your full email address, and you get access to all these awesome services. Yeah. So now, down to what we have to discuss today, the 7-step method to achieving your goals as a developer. So the very first step is to define exactly what you want to build. The aim is to resolve it to a simple sentence, and you could do so by answering a couple of questions. So the very first question I want to answer is, what exactly am I building or designing? And most times it's either, if you're a freelance developer or designer, the client will decide that will tell you what it is they want. If you are working in a team, your team will tell you what you want. So it's left to you to break all that down and really come up with exact things that components of what it is that you want, you've been asked to do. Secondly, you want to answer the question of for what platform, whether it be mobile or desktop or cloud or cross-platform. You want to answer that question too. And then the third question you want to answer is, why am I building it? So most times the client will have a reason why, and your team lead will have a reason why. Okay, so it's very important to understand that part too. And the last question you want to answer is, if it's a new project, you want to determine what the name will be. That will really also help you to understand, to better define the project. Okay, so after doing all of this, you would have achieved a couple of things. For an individual developer working on his own, you would have been able to come up with a repo name. Okay, now so what's a repo? It's a GitHub, the GitHub term. So it's like a place where you store your code. Okay, that's the simplest way I can define it, where you keep your code. Okay, so most of these repos have names. Okay, so if you're doing a full stack project, you might have like maybe at least 2 repos, maybe one for storing your front end code and maybe one for storing your back end code. Okay, so so like that. So by answering all these questions, you will have come up with names for repos, and you have come up with description for repos. Repos actually go with description most times when they're being created. So So you'll have been able to come up with a description for what this repo is and what this repo is about. Another thing you'll have been able to come up with is the repo README file content. Now the README file is what will enable a visitor to your repo to understand what your repo is about. So basically just putting in this question with their answers in the README file is good practice to explain to visitors what your repo is about. And then finally, if it's a new project, you'll come up with your project name. Okay, so that's it for individual developers. Then for developers or designers working in teams, they're able to come up with your branch name. So most times, developers and designers working in teams, there's usually like a repo, and then a branch is like, take for instance, like a tree, and then the branches. So most times, like the whole tree is where like the repo, where all the code is, and then there's a new feature or a new task. Is the ideal is that you create a new branch for it, and then when you're done with your task there and it has been approved, it's now brought into the main tree. It's now made part of the tree. Okay, so that's what kind of what a branch is. So another thing you would have discovered or figured out is the commit message. So the message is what you use to explain what your change is about. Okay, so if you're working in a team, this is another thing you would have discovered. Okay, now so the next thing you want to do is write these things down. Okay, so why would you want to write these things down? You want to write this down to allow you to be conscious of these things. So it's proven that a lot of people that write their goals down have more chances. Okay, it's not certain that they will achieve it, but they have a lot more chances of accomplishing it than other people that don't write this down. Okay, so you want to write this down because, like I said, to help you to be conscious of it, and it's more likely that you finish the project. Okay, so you want to put it somewhere you can help us see. You want to read it daily. You want to modify it, but then only if it's necessary, and then you want to get a physical representation of it. Okay, so maybe you're trying to build an e-commerce store. Okay, so maybe you want to maybe e-commerce fashion store. So maybe you want to have something like this around you every time you wake up, so it reminds you of what you're working on. And so this is now the part where applying to GitHub. This is now the part where all those things you determined from the first slide, you will now like go on GitHub and then maybe create a repo, create a project, or maybe that's one individual, or you're working in a team, create your branch, and then start getting to work. Okay, now there are a couple of tools that you could use to be reminded about these things. GitHub offers a good number of them. There's one called the Probot Reminder. There's another called the Scheduled Reminder, but this one's for organizations only. So they are linked there on the slide. All right, so the next thing you want to do after writing this down is you want to make a list. Now, the aim of this list is to break your idea, your project, your contribution into enough small steps. Okay, now so GitHub calls this issues. Okay, and with GitHub, when you have issues, there is something called tags. Tags is like every other thing that has tags. Tags help you organize your issues, okay, so just help you better organize your issues. So a couple of GitHub already has a couple of predefined tags on their site when you come to create an issue. But a couple of course you could add to, or you could modify the title and the description, and of course their color. It's another lovely thing. So a couple of tags, additional tags or tags, you could edit the existing ones to include obstacles and difficulties to overcome. Okay, so these obstacles could be external or internal. Another determinant could be additional knowledge and skill needed. So say maybe you need to learn how to use D3, the JS, that's like a graph tool. So you could add that as an issue. And then another label type could be the people and or support or collaboration. People you need, people whose support you need, and people whose collaboration you need. Say for example, you're doing a e-commerce store. You will need like more likely a graphics designer for your logo or a UI UX designer for your prototype of your front-end app. Another thing, category is maybe tasks and responsibilities. So maybe to buy a domain name, get access to a hosting server and all of that. So you group that as could be another category for issues. Okay, so after all of this, after making all this list and grouping them and then getting labels for them, you have achieved getting the title for your issues, you would have achieved getting the description for your issues, and like I said, you would have achieved getting label for your issues. Alright, so the next thing after the listing is the organization. Okay, so the aim is to organize based on sequence and priority. Okay, now, so when I say sequence, I mean based on which one comes first before the other. So of course, a user's dashboard is definitely going to come first before the login or the register page. And then there's the issue of priority, which is more important. I like to say in this case that functionality is always more important than design. Take for instance Facebook. When they initially came out, their website wasn't so great, but it was functional. And over time they made improvements, and now it's really awesome looking, especially the new update they made to it recently. So function always trumps design. So it's good to set or organize your issues, your list of tasks for that project based on sequence and priority. So sometimes sequence and priority could be the same, sometimes they could differ. Alright, so at the end of this, you would have been able to achieve something called milestones. Okay, so now this is something that GitHub has that allows you to organize your issues. Okay, so it allows you to like categorize them. Not like it's a lot better than labels. So it's like group 1 issues, group 2 issues, group 3 issues. So usually I like to have just 3 milestones. Okay, so there's I like call them sprint 1, sprint 2, and then sprint 3. And then I group all these issues into these 3 categories based on, like I said, sequence and then priority. Alright, so now the next step will be to, after organization, to now set deadlines to these milestones. So you want to attach reasonable deadlines to these milestones. You want to pick a reasonable time, okay? You can say, I'll finish a login page in 1 month. That's not reasonable. Okay, so next thing you want to do, like before, you want to write down this deadline, and then you want to do long-term and short-term deadlines. Okay, so the project or the task you assigned could have like a major deadline, and then each of the milestones that we discussed earlier could have like a deadline for milestone 1 or sprint 1, milestone 2 or sprint 2, and a deadline for milestone 3 or sprint 3. Okay, and then the next thing, which is very important, is to set a daily working schedule. I've discovered that this helps a lot because most times when you don't have a daily working schedule, you might think you have so much time and there's nothing to do. But if you have a working schedule, you know, okay, this time is meant for this time I'm meant to do this, and to really help you to organize your time, to help you to finish the project on time and completely. Okay, so truth be told, there are no unrealistic goals. There are only unrealistic deadlines. Okay, so at the end of this step, you will have defined deadlines for the milestones that you came up with earlier. All right. So now, after you're done setting these deadlines, the next thing you want to do is act. So how do you do that? You want to make your first commit immediately. Okay, now so what's a commit? Okay, so in GitHub, it's a GitHub term where like you've made a couple of changes, you've added some code, you've done some coding work, and then you want to now put them on GitHub. The changes you made, either to your project or to the task that's been assigned to your team. So that process of like putting it on GitHub, on their cloud service, that is commit. So you want to go ahead and make that first change, make that first improvement, and really just get it up there immediately, the same day that you set those deadlines. Okay, and like I said, you want to start the same day, no matter how small the commit. You want to let the project occupy you, and you want to move quickly and not delay, because then procrastination is a thief of time and indeed your life, because then your time is your life. So the thing you want to do here is, in terms to GitHub, is to make that first commit immediately. You want to go out there and make that first commit immediately. All right then. Now on to the next step. You want to add. Okay, so you want to resolve to close at least one issue per day. So the issues that you have already defined earlier, you want to close at least one every day. Now, closing an issue means that you're done with all the things that you specified that should be done with that issue, and then you now, that way you can now close the issue. So the thing is, closing this issue, one issue per day, adding to the efforts to the first commit which you made the first day, does this magic of building momentum. Okay, and this momentum that you build in turn inspires and energizes you. Okay, and makes it easier to walk towards your goal. Okay. The next thing you want to do is to make this project your waking and sleeping thought. You want it to be the first thing you think of when you get out of bed. You want it to be the last thing you think about when you go into bed. And the reason is this, because whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, you can achieve it. Okay, so you really want to make it your major occupation, so much that you're walking on the road, you're thinking about it, you're having lunch or dinner, you're thinking about it, you're talking with a friend, you're thinking about it, you're talking to a girlfriend or boyfriend, you're thinking about it. Okay, so what you want to do here is to close at least one issue every day. And how can you do this? With respect to GitHub, go out there and make these comments. All right, so the next step, I know we've done 7 already, but I just thought I should add this 8th one because it's really, really important. So a lot of people have this, like all the 7 methods or 7 steps all laid down, and it's possible that they might not still do much, especially developers or designers working as individuals without teams. Okay, the reason why you might not be able to accomplish so much is because of this 8-step accountability. So most developers and designers working in teams have team members and team leads or team mentors that monitor their progress from time to time, whereas individual developers just have clients that maybe call once in a while to check up on them. So these guys are always on their toes because they have to report to mentors or their teammates. Okay, but for an individual developer, that's not the case. So if you're an individual developer and you don't have a team lead or team mentor or teammates checking you out, one thing you want to do is to get at least 2 people to monitor your progress, people that will ask for regular reports and people that you can report to. All right, so those are the 7 but 8-step method to achieve your goals as a developer. A few more things before we close. All right, so special thanks to Brian Tracy. The 7-step method discussed in this session can be found in his book, No Excuses, in chapter 4. You should check it out. It's a very good read. Big kudos also to Andela for the Build for SDG program. Now, this Build for SDG program allows you to have hands-on practical experience with the 7-step method using GitHub issues and GitHub projects. Unfortunately, they are no longer accepting applications, but we still have something that we could use to try out our hand on the 7-step method. So come September, from the 7th of September till the 6th of October, I'll be hosting a 30-day developer challenge online. Okay, so for more info, you can check out my personal website at amjedidiah.me//30devc. Right, so the link is on your screen. Check it out for more info and to sign up. And then you can follow us on Twitter using the hashtag 30devc. All right, so that's all from me. Thank you. My name remains Jedidiah Amarebo. My email is on the screen. My Twitter handle is on the screen. My GitHub handle is on the screen. Thank you.